Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week we will be discussing the U.S. versus Billie Holiday, or the United States versus Billie Holiday, which tells the story of how Billie Holiday was targeted by the Federal Narcotics Division of the FBI through an undercover sting after she refused to stop singing her anti-lynching hit, Fuck It, Start Over. Fuck. Okay, I'm ready. On to sit. Let's get it. Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
And this week we will be discussing the United States versus Billie Holiday, which tells the story of how jazz singer Billie Holiday was targeted by the Federal Narcotics Division of the FBI through an undercover sting after her refusal to stop singing her hit anti-lynching song, Strange Fruit. I am curious, Tammy, to see what you thought of this movie.
Why?
Because I know it was one that you wouldn't have normally watched unless I suggested for the show. So I'm curious to see what you thought about it. As I was watching it, I thought, I think she would actually like it.
So first, I want to go against that opinion because it was on my watch list of movies that I did want to watch. I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and watch it, but I did put it on my list once I saw the preview for it. So, because I've heard of Billie Holiday, I don't listen to jazz, not my thing, but I have heard of her. She is a famous name, of course. So when I saw the preview for her movie and that Audra Day was going to play her, I was actually interested in seeing I guess a little bit of a biopic, not a full biopic, but interesting.
Yeah, I think the better biopic, even though it's old, would probably be Lady Sings the Blues. And I haven't seen that in forever. Diana Ross starred in that one. The book would actually probably be a better read, which I haven't read in forever. And it kind of made me want to go back after watching this and reread the book and watch the original version. Although, God forgive me, and I don't need Diana Ross fans coming after me. Diana Ross isn't the greatest actress, so
the greatest. Diana Ross is a horrible actress, okay? She is the Beyonce of her time, or Beyonce is the Diana Ross of our time. Okay, they both suck at acting, but they can sing though. They can sing.
Beehive, that is Tammy. Straight up, direct all your Beehive hate at Tammy.
Go for it. Because if you being honest with yourself, you know your girl can't act.
Okay, Beehive and Army are two fandoms I don't ever want to piss off. So Beehive, direct all that at Tammy, okay?
I feel like for any Beehive or any members of Beehive or Army, I've already pissed them off multiple times throughout this whole podcast. So I'm okay. Keep it coming.
But yeah, okay, redirecting this ship, getting back on track. I have very mixed. I wanted to enjoy the movie, and there were parts of it I really, really enjoyed. Andra Day's performance was amazing. She really did a great job. The casting was great. I think Trevante Rhodes was with his fine self. He did a great job as Jimmy Fletcher. But the story was a little bit all over the place. Like you said, it was like you kind of got confused about the story it was telling, and the title was a little bit misleading because you thought it was going to be something else. So I don't know. I think the story could have stood to been a little bit more focused, but the acting was on point. She deserved the the Golden Globe for it. We'll see how she does in the Oscars because she was also nominated for Best Actress for her performance in this. But I did think it did a good job of humanizing her though, and her drug addiction. It didn't portray her to be just another strung out addict, or a singer who's an addict. You understood where that pain was coming from. So I thought that was great. And that probably has to do a lot with the acting, and of course, me being the nerd that I am, I looked it up, and Jimmy Fletcher, he really was a real person. The sting did happen. He did fall in love with Billie Holiday, but there wasn't a lot. He never really spoke a lot about it. So there wasn't a lot about their story to tell.
The acting was phenomenal for Audra Day, so I can also understand why she got nominated for an Oscar. And then you said she won the Golden Globe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can understand why. Like, she was phenomenal. But I will say, and maybe this is going to be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, I will say that Viola Davis did, and I feel like Viola Davis hit me harder on
With Ma Rainey.
Yeah, with Ma Rainey than Audra Day did playing Billie Holiday. And that's not to take away from how amazing she was as Billie Holiday, because phenomenal on just the different stages of Billie Holiday's life that they showed, and her acting the different stages. And she did a great job of you being able to understand where Billie Holiday was coming from on, like you said, the reason why she was a drug addict and the reason why she never could really kick her habit. So I definitely understood that. May not agree with it, but I definitely understood why she could never kick her habit. And I love the fact that she said multiple times she didn't need jail time. She needed help. And very, very true, because in America, we criminalize drug addicts. That's one reason why a lot of drug addicts never kick their habit, because we criminalize drug addicts. But in other countries, they actually send them to hospitals, and they send them to get help, and they send them to rehab rather than criminalizing, because you realize that does not help the person, to get better by you sending them to jail. Because let's be honest, you can also get your fix in jail as well. That's a whole nother ballpark. So
yeah, you just went from one dealer to another.
Exactly, to another one, and you got a whole system that's gonna help you get your drugs there.
Yeah.
But it was great. I really, really liked it. To be honest, Jimmy Fletcher was a fucking idiot. He was an idiot. It's like, was he black? Was he a coon? Like what was he trying to be? Like, where was his justification in doing what he did? I never really felt for his justification for being a federal agent. When, like his mom said, you could have been anything else. Why a Fed? And then to think that, we got to get the drugs off the street because they're going to kill our neighborhood. I love the fact that it was kind of glossed over on, just like drugs flooded the black neighborhood, drugs flooded the white neighborhood as well. And nobody dealt with that drug issue. They do their stuff behind closed doors, but they kind of made it, connected between drug abuse and the black community, which I guess I didn't realize started so early in history. So
yeah,
that was interesting to find out, because I didn't, like, when I saw like she was on crack, I was like, wait, crack was there back then? I was like,
it was heroin.
I did not know that.
It was heroin. Heroin used to, rather than shooting it up, they smoked it.
Are you correcting between crack and heroin?
Well, they're two different drugs. My bad.
She was a crackhead. So
it sounds better than heroin. It sounds better.
Well, I mean, yes, I understand heroin, but I'm like, I feel like there really needs to be no distinction. Is the point of saying at the end of the day, that drug, just kicked her butt the same way that if she was on actual crack, like, so
yeah,
she was shooting it up her arm and everything like that. So yeah, and it's sad. It is absolutely sad on the talent that she had, and that she felt that talent didn't really come through unless she was fully high. Like, she couldn't give a good show unless she was high, and you started to see like she was very, very dependent on it, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, it was like when several things. Yes, Jimmy was an idiot, and I think that you kind of saw the changes, but it's like you never understood why he never quit the job, especially considering he didn't need the job, that he came from a wealthy family in Harlem. Especially once he saw, I think he kind of went into it idealistic, like you said. He thought that he was doing the right thing by protecting his people and cleaning up the neighborhoods, and we won't get into how the drugs actually came into the neighborhoods. And like you said, it's always been criminalized or stereotyped as a hood problem, that Black and brown people are the only drug addicts and we're subjected to it. No, we're the only ones that you criminalize for having those problems. In the nicer neighborhoods in the suburbs, they actually do try to get them help. 17-year-old
because they can afford it.
Yeah, and if they can't, they will still try to send them to different rehabs and stuff like that. So, but that's a whole different history lesson and story. And I think going into it, he just saw what they wanted him to see, or he just saw who he thought Billie Holiday was, who they told him she was. But then I think once his eyes were open, once he really got to know her, especially once he started to fall in love with her, I think he thought that was his way of protecting her. By saying was to protect, that was the only way to really protect her, because someone else would come in and do what they wanted him to do, which was truly destroy her. Again, Hoover was a motherfucker. Like,
absolutely. And we talked about this with what is it? Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah,
like he was a fucking asshole.
I'm waiting for someone to grow the cojones to tell the true story of
Hoover,
of J. Edgar Hoover. That would be a fucking blockbuster. Like, because he was a motherfucker. Like, stop glancing around it. Stop glossing around it. Yes, he did a great thing by starting the FBI. Understood where it comes from, what he did. You can appreciate that, but everything else that came after that, oh fuck no.
But and I feel like lately they when they talk about him, at least in the movies that we've watched and commented on, that they're you're starting to see the trueness behind J. Edgar Hoover, not this glossed over image that they had of how amazing of a man he was, but the real racist undertones of the FBI, as well as him as a person. So I also agree they need to do a true movie of who that man was, because woo, he did a lot.
He did a lot. Like, talk about doing the most. And so it's like, at one point, because of the different ways they were trying to set her up, and she knew it, and I guess when you're, like you say, the one time that we saw when she went to jail, when she was sentenced to 3 years, 13 months or something like that.
1 year and 1 day.
1 year and 1 day. When she got out, she was clean. And she was determined to stay clean. And we saw a little bit of her staying clean and, exercising and all of that. But her first big performance, when she came back, and the guy comes in after she performed and said, "You're high." And she's like, "Of course I'm high." Like, it was like, and even when she said that, it was heartbreaking, but I was like, what did y'all expect? Like, did you expect anything else? Well,
nobody really tried to help her kick her actual habit. They condoned it, or they entertained it, or they just let her be. There wasn't one person in her life that actually tried to help her kick her habit.
Or to help her stay clean.
Yeah, or help her stay clean. They just said that was Lady Day and let her continue doing what she was doing. No, nobody was, trying to help her, not even Jimmy Fletcher. Like, none of them tried to help her kick her habit. So that's why none of them was surprised when she actually got back into the drugs, because they expected her to get back into the drugs. They never looked at her and seen her as being able to survive without the heroin in her arm.
Which is sad.
It is, because how much of a family are you when instead of trying to actually legitimately help, you think by helping, just letting her be her and thinking that drugs makes her who she is what was so wrong with all the toxic relationships that she had around her, even the ones that she considered to be her family, Ross and Reggie. Like, there was still toxicity within those relationships on the fact that never once did y'all. And then you used it as in, well, she was raped when she was 10 years old, and the life that she lived growing up. And I definitely get that, heartbreaking. But that's therapy that she could have definitely afforded at the time. As well as not using that as an excuse on a reason why you felt she should continue to use the drugs that she did. Like, that was not helping her at all. That literally killed her, because that's what deteriorated her liver so much that she ended up dying.
Well, and true, but looking, therapy, especially for minorities and Black people, that is a new 21st century thing that we're still struggling with to talk about going to therapy and how we do that. So back then, even though she probably could have afforded it, you have to think about how many Black therapists there were, and that wasn't a thing. You think about how many, especially the way when you did get, and that's what I'm saying. I really wish we had that this were a true biopic, so you could see the beginning, the middle, and the end. But you see how her mom was just like, "You're not the only one. You're not the first one. You think this makes you special?" So it was just like, especially for that time period, how many of our mothers and our grandmothers had been subjected to that and to those things. So, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think just for that time, therapy was not something, especially for Black artists, that was in the Black community, that was just welcomed. And and that was also something else where I'm saying, like, okay, I'm not saying she didn't realize she had a problem or that she didn't know she had a problem, but when I heard that line, like, I need help, not jail, I'm like, I wonder if that's really something that she said or something that was put in because, it was written during this time that, hey, just that other realization that being a drug addict doesn't necessarily make you a criminal, because that's what she went to jail for, being a drug addict, but also set up for not singing because she refused to stop singing a song, which, by the way, here is the real hypocrisy and all that. The majority of her audience, especially where she was singing a song at the places like the Copacabana, Carnegie Hall, they were white. So the people who were dying for her, screaming for her to sing this song were white.
Yeah, but there were whites in the North. And granted, not to say that they're any, more special because they benefited from the same system as whites in the South. There were whites from the North who were asking her to sing this song. And they were trying to stop her from singing the song. The whites in the South were trying to stop her from singing the song about lynching and everything like that. Not to say lynching didn't happen up north, because it did. But these were white people from the North who were asking her to sing that song. So very, very different concept or very different crowd.
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, I know. I'm just saying that the people who I get where she was, and I get but I'm just saying the audience itself were requesting an anti-lynching song. But when you go back and look at it, it's like you're asking this Black woman to sing an anti-lynching song in some of the most racist times in America, and it makes me fully ask myself the question: did they realize what the song is about? And as I've done research in history, a lot of people did not realize that the song was an anti-lynching song. They had no idea what Strange Fruit was about. So I was just like, oh, okay. You know, and a lot of people didn't understand the whole argument back then, or what was the big deal about her singing this song, because all they knew is Billie Holiday has a beautiful voice, and we just like the song. You know, and then those who knew, obviously, they were the ones setting her up to not sing it, who wanted to jail her for singing a song. So it also begs the question of, oh, okay, free speech. Is it really free? Is it really for everybody? You know, that was just my rant of the day. So, I thought that it was really interesting that, the relationship between her and Jimmy, and when they were in the hotel, and the first time they made love, I'm not going to say the first time they had sex, but the first time they made love, when he really stopped and made her look at him, and how she started to feel these things, that it felt safe and comfortable for her. And after that, when she broke up with him, because you have to applaud her for being honest. It's like, I don't know this. I'm not used to this. I'm not comfortable with this. Like, she thought that love, that can we even say it was functional?
No, it was not.
Okay. But it was the most functional type of love that she
it was genuine. I will say that.
Yeah.
It may not have been, it was still toxic in certain ways, but it was genuine on the fact that he really did love her, and he treated her with more respect than any man had ever treated her with respect before.
Okay. Perfect. So, and her not being used to that, and it just made me think about how many of us are not used to that. Women and men are not used to having something, we'll just say, quote unquote, semi-functional, that makes us feel safe and genuine. And I was like, wow, like her walking away from that, and you think would her life have been different? Like, if maybe the reason he didn't try to get harder to get her off drugs is because he knew what she would be going back to. I don't know. Like, I agree with you. It's like, that was one question I asked myself. I'm like, if you love her so much, why don't you try harder to help save her? But
I think that he loved her for who she was as a drug addict. I don't think either one of them could imagine what they would be if she wasn't on drugs, on and off her whole life. Because that's one reason why the love was, even though it was genuine, why I feel that it was a little toxic as well. But at the same time, they couldn't imagine how well they would have worked out if she wasn't, Billie Holiday on drugs. Like, that's honestly it. Because at the end of the day, like, when she walked away and left him there, and
on the side of the road.
Yeah, no, and forget the whole leaving Jimmy behind, because I understand, like, that was a very serious conversation, and I love the fact that she was honest. I agree with you on that. She was very, very honest on saying that she doesn't understand this. She doesn't understand genuine love. Like, she don't understand how to do this long term, because all she's ever known is violent love. So definitely get that. But what hit me even harder is the fact that she left her band behind. And after she left her band behind, they were never her band again. Like, they didn't come back to her. Because when Prez died and his wife wouldn't let her sing at his funeral, he was like, I thought we was family, but I guess not, because you willing to leave us on the side of the road and just go. Like, I thought, we was in this together, and we not. We not in this together. Like, we got to figure out our own way home, because you called your boy, your dude, to come get you, and then took Ross and Reggie and left the rest of us behind. But I thought, because even in that was kind of sad on her not even knowing how to truly take care fully of her people. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess I guess they say if you don't love yourself, then who can you truly love? And that was the one thing that it was just like, wow, if she could have seen herself maybe the way everyone else saw her, the most people saw her, besides just a cash cow or a money thing, or and maybe that's what she thought. She thought, oh, they're just here for the money anyway. So because that's what she said. What did she say? I'll get the money to y'all, and they were like, but it's not about that, I'll get the money, and when I get to where I'm going, I'll get the money and get someone here. And they're like, but it's not about that. It's not even a conversation of that was the fucked up part. It's like, it wasn't even a conversation of, yo, I got this dude coming. And I forgot which one of her dudes that was, but that was her husband when she died. But she didn't even say, look, I called him. He's coming. Y'all know how he trips. When I get to New York, I'm going to get somebody, or when we get to the airport, I'm going to get somebody to come get the bus. And, it's like, could you at least have a conversation to say, hey, he has a car. He's getting me to New York. He's getting me out of here. I'm going to get somebody to come fix the bus and get y'all. It wasn't even that. It was just like,
Deuces.
This dude just shows up out of nowhere. Like, yo, Billy, what the, like, we thought we was in this together. And it's like, what? Like, and, she didn't even have a conversation with them about it. So, I would have been a little salty about being left on the side of the road, too. But, so I do wonder if, like, when she died, I think she had $750 to her name. And they wouldn't let anyone see her in the hospital. And that was like, even on her deathbed, her quote unquote husband / manager was still trying to set her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he came in talking to her, and then be like, oh, she's ready to talk. And she was like, haha, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
And they were like, that dude, what is it, Ainslinger or whatever his name was mad till the end, because he was just like, yo, really? Like, oh, wow, she going strong till the end. And Jimmy said that. When Jimmy said, you hate her because she made something of herself, she's strong and she's black. And that is the reason why you hate her. And he couldn't say anything against it, because that's ultimately the reason why. All right? That dude was racist. And then what shocked me, well, not shocked me, because, I mean, he's from Boston. But when they showed how, like, he got, what is it, the presidential honor or whatever like that, for still being the head of the narcotics what's the word for it? Narcotics
division?
Yeah, up until he retired, and I was just like, dang, like, the fact that America still doesn't acknowledge their absolute history in perpetuating the racist ideals and how it still affects the Black community more than any other, which we can definitely see from, the new laws that are trying to be passed.
Oh no! Racism ended with slavery.
No. Racism ended when they elected Barack Obama.
Oh, but before that ended with slavery.
Of course. Because the KKK was just in their minds. Like, it wasn't real. It was just a secret society. That's it. They was just chilling outside.
And then you had your Black president, so it's all good. Race, Asians. Oh, and how can you say that, Asians, Hispanics, whatever other race, y'all had your minority president. And now look at you. You got your half Asian, half Black female vice president. So she checks all the
boxes. Look at that. We've given you everything. What you complaining for?
It's good. So don't worry about what happened in Atlanta. That was he was just having a bad day. It's all good. It happened. Don't worry about what they're doing in Georgia. You shouldn't be out there that long anyway. You don't need water when you vote, and it's okay. Y'all gonna vote right from now on, so we're not gonna have to overturn it. But I did love Reggie. I did love Leslie Jordan's character, and he there was something where he asked her about, like, why won't you, when he told her basically why, like, I loved it because it kind of shows, and it's going to go to another something else that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But when he asked her, he's like, I'm a huge fan. And at that point in her career, I know at one point she had been blacklisted or blackballed towards the end of her career. Hoover put her on a list or something because she wouldn't stop singing a song, and it goes into that. So when she was doing that radio interview, and he made it seem like, he was just doing a big favor because he's such a fan and he's so down and he's so hip. And then when he asked her, why won't you just fucking behave and stop singing a song?
Okay, which character are you talking about? Because I don't know these actors' names.
The radio, the white dude who gave her
okay. Because I was like, who the heck is she talking about? Okay, yeah. Well, he was a white dude who just didn't understand.
But he was so down because he was such a huge Billie Holiday fan.
Fuck that shit. Because you got so many people that are fans of. They've been a fan of our culture. They've been a fan of our music since the beginning of time.
They want our rhythm, but they
don't want our blues.
I always say it. They want our rhythm, but
they don't want our blues. And another thing is they don't understand our blues. So he goes along with wanting the rhythm, but not even understanding the blues. That's what the problem was.
And so, and it's just, and I love when, even to this day, you always get asked some form of that. Well, why don't I just what? Shut up and take it? Do as I'm told? Be a good girl? Ignore it? Stop it? And so, and then when Miss Freddie went off on him and was like, you treat her with some respect, it was like, you got one more time. One more time. And what did he say? He basically that he was going to end up kicking his ass. Mm-hmm. So, but I was just like, at that point, you realize, okay, maybe Miss Freddie, I don't know. I'm with you. Again, though, I still have a problem with why, and behind the scenes, you don't know how many people tried to help her, but it's just like with you, they just seem also blasé about her just being so strung out and being an addict, like you say, that's just who she is. Like, so we will see. But overall, what did you think of it? What would you rate it? We know
I rated her because her acting was phenomenal, which definitely made for the story, even with the disjointedness, which definitely brings down my rating, because the story, I feel, in some place was just all over the place. Like, I couldn't fully follow exactly which stage in her life the scenes were coming from. So overall, I'd give it about probably a solid 3.5, because I think one scene that really threw me off was the scene where she sees the mom that's lynched hanging from a tree, and then she goes into the house, and then they show up, and then the dude is getting the drugs ready for her, and I was just like, wait, is she dreaming? Like, is this reality? Is she just imagining this? Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around exactly what this was supposed to be telling me exactly. So I give it a 3.5. I think it's really good, and I would suggest everybody to watch it. It's very enjoyable. Didn't have to fast forward or try to pause or anything like that. So you definitely will enjoy watching the movie, especially the acting was phenomenal. It's just the script was a little off. The scenes were a little off. But other than that, great job.
Wow, I'm surprised. You're going to be shocked. You actually rated it higher than I did. Yeah, I gave it a 3. And that was based on the acting. The script, and I'm with you, that was a really confusing scene. Like, okay, she's dreaming. Why is Jimmy here? What's going on? And I'm like, okay, is she having a drug moment? Like, is she dreaming? Not only that, is she high? Is she about to sing the song? Like, what?
Yeah, you couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, and so I do like Lee Daniels, but this was a little bit. It was. I don't know. I think a more straightforward biopic would have been better. The title was also throws it off a little bit, but Overall, I did enjoy it. It was enjoyable, like you said. I watched it straight through. I didn't stop. I was more interested in the story of Billie Holiday, and like I said, it made me want to go back. I couldn't quite bring myself to rewatch Lady Sings the Blues, even though it's been a long time since I've watched it. I just know, but I have reordered a new copy of the book because I can't find my original copy. So I do want to reread the book and just get a more full picture of her life, because I love Billie Holiday. I love jazz music, and two of my favorite songs that I love hearing her sing are God Bless the Child and Strange Fruit. And when I was younger, I didn't know what Strange Fruit was about. And then when you're younger, you don't really understand those things. And then once I really paid attention to the lyrics, and I was like, oh shit. And it just kind of made it hit more. But yeah, and then Time Magazine rated it the song of the century for the 20th century. So in 1999, they rated it the song of the century. And the BBC called it one of the most shocking songs of all time. So if you haven't heard the original, or Andra Day does a great performance of Strange Fruit in its entirety. But I highly recommend that you actually check out the original by Billie Holiday. If you have not, it is an amazing song. So I give it a 3. You gave it a 3.2. You gave it a 3.5, right? So the average, I'm just going to say this in my head, I think that gives it a 3.25. I don't know. I don't have my calculator.
Yes, Eddie. Yes, Eddie. It gives you a 3.25. Oh my God.
Say it. You're such a nerd.
You're such a nerd.
We all have our something. That's what makes our dynamic work.
It does. I was just like, is she really trying to average this out?
Yes. I know I'm a quirky nerd. I have my things. Okay. Well, anyway, that does it for this episode of I'm going to get it in extra butter, which Tammy hates. Get in here. Anyway, that does it for this bonus episode.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And be sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And daily on the popcornwinedown.com. Plug, pop, pop, pop. Yes, we still need a sound effect. Until next time,
I'm Tammy. Bye.